Hey guys, Jonathan here, and I took the new Autumn Cottage Garden, which LEGO sent me early to review, and broke it down to turn it into an Avengers Infinity War display. I like this way better, it's going to fit my collection even better, and of course the new Autumn Cottage Garden set is $120, which I think is pretty pricey for what it is, but if you happen to get this on sale someday, or if you just wanted to bricklink the extra parts, or just use the other parts for MOCs, this is a really cool way to make a Marvel display out of it. So let me show you what I did, because I barely used any pieces that don't come in the set aside from the minifigs and of course Hulkbuster, and this was really simple to convert. So let me show you how to do. So here's the finished build, and of course the main thing is using the base plate that this is built on. I think that honestly even the stand works really well, so not much needed to be changed. I'll cut to some footage here where, as you can see, I removed pretty much every single build that was not the terrain, and you're going to need to do that obviously because we don't want the cottage there and all that good stuff. But when we zoom back out, I was actually able to fit a lot in from the final battle. Now, of course, there are tons of Avengers and Wakandans here, so I kind of wanted to get some of the most iconic scenes that I could. We'll start over here to our left, where Rocket, Groot, and Thor have arrived for Thor's epic entrance. Of course, Thor should have his, gunmetal gray arms. I really just wanted to illustrate what you could do here, and you're going to need a lot of the Outriders, which if you've been collecting LEGO Marvel for some time, you probably have a couple that you could fill out, and they're pretty cheap, honestly, too. But as you can see, when we removed the minifigs, I used the jumper plates that kept the cottage in place, but of course I just kind of reorganized this area to leave enough open space to be able to see Thor, Rocket, and Groot for their arrival, but also have some Outriders off to the side where you could see them being surrounded. Speaking of being surrounded, I've hidden Bucky in the back facing off against an Outrider, and the Outriders are also facing off against the Infinity Saga Hulkbuster, which came out a couple years ago, but it's literally based off of this scene from the Infinity War movie, so it's the best Hulkbuster, in my opinion, for this exact scene, and I love that there were some studs that I was able to even add some Outriders up there. As we move along to the side here, in the actual set itself, there are lots of these 2x2 brick builds that you're able to slide pieces in and out of like that, so I had M'Baku fighting an Outrider here, but what's cool is, although it wouldn't be lore accurate, hypothetically, you can switch them out, like with the Black Widow one I have over there, and you could have different Avengers running around. You know, it just kind of depends what you want to do. But I've even built some play features in with those, which I'll take a look at here in just a second, but that sets M'Baku back to where he was. Then, of course, I've got Captain America and Black Panther running into the build. Now, this is where you'll have to add just a few pieces to the build, and you'll see that what I did here is added those jumper pieces from the Marvel CMFs into those 1x1 clips. That way you can have Cap and Black Panther running and jumping just like we see in the movie. I did make some upgrades to the Cap minifig. You guys know I make Purist custom upgrades all the time. But one thing before I move too far onward here, I'm going to flip the entire build around so you can see how Hulkbuster is put into place here, because as I moved it, he just kind of fell out. So we can lift this up and see that I've got one of those plate pieces here where we've got that, Technic stud standing upright. And thankfully, Hulkbuster has these studs in his feet. So I just lined this one up here. And then this one just kind of holds it in place. So you just have to line it up. And then, of course, kind of reposition Hulkbuster where you want him there. And then he's towering over the battle just as awesome as possible. In fact, now he's kind of leaning forward. That's cool. But I did have him leaning back. Just kind of takes up more space and looks better that way. Now, speaking of the back, I used pieces from the set to go ahead and elevate Falcon. I did have to add this clear piece here, but that way we could build Falcon and have him flying over the battle. And in a way, it almost adds some background to the set, which I quite like. Then I used some more of those jumper pieces from the CMF figure to have this Outrider jumping here. Of course, it's not necessary. There are studs in the water where you could have Outriders just kind of running through the water, but I think it's nice to have a lot of action scenes going on and have Outriders running and jumping around. And speaking of action scenes, our final action scene here is the She's Not Alone scene, where we have Okoye, the Scarlet Witch, and Black Widow here, all of which are in place fighting Proxima Midnight, and you could switch Black Widow around. You could even move Okoye, and have her over here. And what I did with Okoye is I did have to add this little blue Technic pin, but it allows for a figure to spin, so it almost makes for a play feature. Then, like I said, you could put Black Widow over here and just change up who's standing where for the fight. I don't really know that one is particularly more lore accurate than the other because they're both fighting Proxima Midnight, and initially I did have Scarlet Witch knocked out, but I think for play and display value, it does look better to have everybody kind of in their action scenes going on here, and overall I really like it. Now, needless to say, you could add more Okoye figures to build out your Dora Milaje army. There are lots more figures that were present during this battle that you could add if you have them. But overall, I'm really happy with this display. I like that there's lots of different battles being represented. You know, you could add War Machine flying up over the side, but I also tried to keep this realistic because this set, of course, is $120 in stores for the Autumn Cottage Garden. And, you know, the Hulkbuster set, I think, was like $50 when it came out, if memory serves correctly. So while I don't think LEGO could put out a Marvel set at this scale for $120, I did try to keep it kind of realistic. I don't think we would get this many Outriders if LEGO made a set like this, but the beauty is this is just a MOC, so we could kind of do whatever we want, but I also wanted to make it look realistic like a set LEGO might put out, even though we all know it would never be this level of detail with this many minifigs. But with that being said, we'll go ahead and zoom out the video and call it a day. Before we finally close out, I thought one other interesting thing to show you would be the extra pieces that were left over. Needless to say, there's actually a lot. And between, like, you know, the squirrel, the sunflowers, the trees, and everything here, I just think that there's a lot of really, really good stuff for MOC builders. So if you're building this MOC to begin with, you're probably interested in building other MOCs. And again, I really just wanted to give an extra look at some of the pieces that were left over so that you could get your imagination running wild where else you could use these tree pieces, particularly these new leaf pieces on this tree, which look absolutely awesome. And of course, the little house for the gnome is really nice as well. But yeah, I just felt like the MOC builders out there would be interested in seeing all of the extra pieces. And with that being said, now we'll finally go ahead and wrap up the video. Alright guys, well thanks again to LEGO for sending this set to me early to review, and of course I hope you guys enjoyed this MOC breakdown. I absolutely loved building this. I think this is going to fit my collection way better, and I'd love to hear what you guys think, so be sure to hit like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments what you think of this, and if you plan on doing a conversion like this yourself. I'll see you guys on the next video, and until next time, build on.